What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Super Draft Breakdown Show. I'm Turb Ferguson. I'm going to be bringing you some of my favorite picks on today's 10-game NBA slate over on Super Draft. Haven't signed up for yet. Making bad life choices. Sign up using promo code GRINDERS. Get 100% deposit bonus if you put $150 in there. That's right. That's free money. Immediately able to use it. No drip, no nothing. Just basically play through it once. It's yours. Any deposit of $150 or more gets you $150 free Super Draft cash dollars. That's basically as good as cash. Just have to play through it once. Or if you do less than that, they'll match it 100% up to $50. So might as well get the full $150. But if you can't do that, any amount of money up to $50, they'll match it in Super Draft cash. No drip, nothing, just free money. So get signed up for that. Plus, we're giving out a free roll tonight. RotoGrinders giving out a special free roll. $2,500 in prizes. Currently only 130 people in it so far. Top 400 people get free money and $500 the first. So get signed for that. Plus, guess what? 3 free months of RG Premium if you end up in the top 10 that free roll. That is worth it in and of itself. It's added on top of the already prizes you'll be getting from the free roll. So absolutely get signed up using promo code GRINDERS. Get in tonight, because if you don't know what you're doing, I'm going to explain everything. Super Draft is a non-salary cap format thing. It's a multiplier site. So pretty much someone gets 40 points. They have a 1.5x multiplier. Boom, they have 60 points. So you can swap anyone for anyone you want. You can play whoever you want to in your lineups. 3 guards, 3 forwards, 1 center. Someone gets ruled out. Boom, you can immediately swap everything, global player swap, over to a different one. If you guys got any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat here. I'll get to them throughout the show. So if you have any questions about strategy, any questions about a specific player on today's Super Draft slate, any questions on pretty much anything, the new Detroit style pizza from Pizza Hut, I can also talk about that because I really want it. It looks fantastic. But yeah, anything you guys want to know, go ahead and drop it into the comment section, drop it into the chat section, and I'll get to it throughout the show. But let's get started here with a breakdown. Like I said, 3 guards, 3 forwards, 1 center. So you can play anyone you want. We're going to start off by going with center and breaking that down. So you can see I kind of color-coded things. This spreadsheet is real simple. It's RG's projections multiplied by the multiplier. So RG's projections have Vucevic. Vucevic, I don't know why I can not say things right now. But for a 62-point median, that's his median projection over on RG times 1.25, because that's a multiplier. Same thing with floor, same thing with ceiling, same thing with all of these guys. So this is just using RG median projections. And blue, anyone that is coded in blue is a guy that I'm considering for cash. And green are the guys that are probably going to be part of my tournament core. So it's obviously different. Like on today's slate, Vooch is probably going to come in around 60% owned over on Super Draft at center. So he's well worth it. Like there's a reason for that. It's because people are using projections. People are using projection systems, optimizers, and he's going to pop in all of them. Like look at his median projection. It's 6 points higher than the next closest center in towns, 10 points higher than the 4th highest projected center. But remember, this is basketball. There is volatility, a little bit of a mix between DraftKings and FanDuel scoring. So you get 3.5 points for a 3-pointer. Same for assists and rebounds is over on DraftKings, the double-double bonus, the triple-double bonus. But steals, blocks worth 3 points, turnovers worth -1. So there's pretty drastic swings, especially with these high multiplier guys. Dwight Howard, for instance, here, 1.8x multiplier. If he gets 3 blocks at a 1.8x multiplier, that's pretty much 17, 16 points right there. So these swings can be pretty huge in games where someone gets a lot of block steals. That TJ McConnell night where he ended up with 10 steals and a triple-double, that's he was at a 1.7x multiplier that night. That was 10 steals, so 30 points times 1.7. That's 45 points right there. Add in the triple-double bonus, that's a little bit extra. All the points, all the rebounds, everything in that game. I think he ended up with over 100 Super Draft points. It was an absolutely massive night, and you'll occasionally find those every once in a while. Gallinari the other night was at a 1.9x multiplier, ended up with 103 points because he had 55 regular points times 1.9x multiplier. So you can get those little outliers, and you can get them at low ownership a lot of times. So in tournaments, it does make sense to fade the super chalk, even though they have such a high median projection and so much higher than a lot of guys. You can find these low-owned guys at high multiplier that go off for a massive game. Today's slate, there's a decent amount of them. So Kelly Olynyk probably going to draw some ownership. Definitely a guy that's in play for tournaments. We know that Bam's out. It's match versus Orlando. Orlando's not a bad matchup. He'll probably play a little bit extra because he has to be in there for Vooch, although it's not a great matchup defensively for Vooch. But it's a spot where we know Kelly O is going to play some minutes. He's at a high multiplier. We see his ceiling here, highest ceiling of anyone on the slate at the center position. And that's because he gets hot shooting. He gets a few stocks. Like, that's a huge swing because 3.5 points for a three-pointer, that he ends up being over 6 points at his multiplier. So for tournaments here, Vooch is the clear top option, but going to be heavily owned. For cash, I'm locking him in. It's just that simple. Like, he has all the usage in the world with Fournier out, with Anthony out, with all those guys still out. He's the main guy on this team. Matchup versus Miami, not the greatest in the world, but Vooch still has 80-point upside on SuperDraft at 1.25x multiplier, 90-point upside if he goes off like he did not too long ago, getting 70 points over on DK. And then you add in the multiplier here of 1.25x. Just becomes an easy play to go with. Outside of that, like Cat, he's been doing work. Match versus New Orleans, like, they're a lot faster paced than they were at the beginning of the season. Been very fast paced recently. Not good defensively. 1.15x multiplier is lower than I'd hope, but still enough where you get some upside. He has a 70-point ceiling. Same thing, Kelly O, Kristaps, guy that's going to be in play. He can put up a 50-point night, and the 1.35x multiplier definitely makes it worth it. Cantor, Ayton, both those guys can go off for big games. So these are kind of the core guys, but Dwight Howard is an interesting one. We know that both Simmons and Embiid both out. Howard probably going to get the start. 1.8x multiplier. We know that there's a drastic swing. So you look at his median, his floor, and his ceiling. Like, he's probably going to end up with 25 minutes. In 25 minutes, he can end up with a double-double and 5 blocks. He can absolutely do that. So going up against Chicago, Wendell Carter Jr., not a great defender. Pretty good matchup. They're a fast-paced team. 6th in the league right now, I believe, in pace. So Dwight Howard is a guy that's definitely offering you a ton of ceiling, very much in play for tournaments, but he could end up killing your lineup. He can do nothing in those 25 minutes. He can do a ton in those 25 minutes. So it's very volatile, especially at the center position. You can throw him in at forward, but Dwight Howard's definitely a guy that's in play for tournaments. Looking at stuff after that, like, Capella's fine. Mostly a guy that I'll throw in a game stack. Same thing with John Collins. Like, Capella can end up with 5 or 6 blocks. He can end up with a double-double. He can end up with 20-20. Like, it all depends on how many minutes he's going to end up getting. He was getting more minutes earlier on, but 1.2x multiplier, I'd kind of like to see it about 1.3, 1.4 before I end up throwing him into my lineup. So we see the median projection here is 48 points for him. I don't know if he makes a cut. I'll definitely think about it, but more than likely not going to end up with a ton of exposure to him outside of a game stack, because Toronto is very short-staffed. Like, this could end up being a blowout. Atlanta can absolutely crush them, or Toronto could get randomly hot from behind the arc and end up crushing Atlanta. Like, there's more of a blowout risk, I think, for the Atlanta game than a lot of other games. And Lowry and Powell are both going to, or Lowry's going to be incredibly chalky. Powell will grab some ownership. I have a lot more interest in Powell that we'll get to once we get to forward and guard. But Capella's mostly a guy throwing a game stack. Same thing with Collins. Outside of that, like Horford, 1.5x multiplier, not really getting me excited. I could see Noel being a decent play, 1.7x multiplier. Going to play a boatload of minutes. He gets 5 stocks per 36 minutes, I think, so far in the season. So that volatile category, like I was talking about, a high multiplier, he can end a game with 7, 8 steal/blocks any given time. Matchup versus Milwaukee, they'll probably need a little bit more height. So we can expect him to play high 30s minutes potentially. Going further down, Wendell Carter Jr. doesn't really have the ceiling at a 1.55x multiplier. Steven Adams rarely has a ceiling even at a 1.75 multiplier. We look at all these ceiling spots for these guys, just don't see a ton. Like, DeAndre Jordan could put up a ceiling game, but we don't know if his minutes are going to be 20 or if they're going to be 35. Literally changes any given night. Matchup versus Boston, I'd expect them probably to not give him a ton of run, but it's almost impossible to predict its minutes. So center is pretty cut and dry. For cash, absolutely go Vooch. For tournaments, I think Capella's in play in a game stack. Dwight Howard's definitely in play. Ayton, Cantor, both high enough multipliers where they're in play. Porzingis, Kelly O is very much in play. An absolutely fantastic tournament pivot, but you can play him over the forward. Cat, guy that can absolutely outscore Vooch by 5-10 points. It's basketball. It's volatile. Blowouts happen all the time. So just keep that in mind when you're creating lineups. Forward, 3 guys that I absolutely want in cash is going to be Terrence Ross. Guy's going to be checking, should get the start, should play 35 minutes. Match versus Miami. Again, not great, but 1.7x multiplier. Far too high considering what he can do. Jimmy Butler, been getting treble doubles. Bam's not in there. Should end up with 50 points, which at 1.2x multiplier is going to get you over 60. We have his median at 58. He's got a nice floor. He's got a nice ceiling. Tobias Harris is the lock and load for cash for me. Without Embiid and Simmons, Tobias Harris should play high 30s minutes if this game ends up staying close, which is currently at a 4-point spread. He averages 1.22 fantasy points per minute while on the floor without Embiid and without Simmons. Sees a big increase of usage, around 6% without those guys on the floor. So Tobias Harris at a 1.35x multiplier, absolutely in play for tournaments. Absolutely a lock and load for me for cash. I'm not going to argue with some of these other guys for cash. Like if Kawhi, I wouldn't use him for cash just because you never know if he's going to get late scratched. Obviously, the Clippers have been ridiculous recently, just scratching Paul or scratching Kawhi right after lock, and always just kills our lineup. But so he's more in play for tournaments. Match versus Golden State's fantastic. Multiplier is a little bit high, but he's probably a guy I'm staying away from in cash. Both Giannis and Luka are 1x multipliers. So basically, however many points they score is what you get. Not going to argue with tournaments. Like match versus New York isn't great for Giannis, but Giannis can put up 70 in any given matchup. And on SuperDraft, you're kind of looking for a guy that'll give you 60 points. That's what you want from each of your guys is at least 60 points. Chance at 80, like occasionally get a guy with a chance at 100, like Kelly Olynyk tonight if he gets hot from behind the arc. So basically, Giannis and Luka both in play for tournaments. Don't know if I'd use them for cash, but both of them very much in play for tournaments. Zion is one of my favorite picks on the night for tournaments. He's been crushing it, putting up 50 on a consistent basis. Match versus Minnesota, not a great defensive team, not a great team overall. Game should stay close, may end up a blowout, but it should stay close. And 1.25x multiplier for what Zion's been doing and how consistent he's been lately. You're getting a nice 50-point floor from him, but you're also getting a nice 70, 80-point ceiling from him. So Zion's definitely a guy I'm going to use in tournaments. Ingram can always get hot, shoot the ball all over the place, put up a big outing. Cat, Olynyk, talked about both of them. Levine, guy that's on my radar, eats up a ton of usage. Philly, normally a very tough defensive matchup, but they're worse on the road. They are way worse defensively without Embiid and Simmons, who are 2 of their main stakes as defender. So Levine, 1.25x multiplier, definitely has some ceiling. Decent floor because you know he's going to chuck the ball 20 times every single game. Randall, matchup versus Milwaukee, could end up being a blowout, but 1.2x multiplier. He offers you a 60, 70-point ceiling in any given night at that multiplier. So I don't mind him for tournaments. Middleton has been a little bit up and down recently. Drew should be playing more minutes, which could eat into his usage, but 1.4x multiplier. He's been good. Like there's been spots where he's gone for 50. If he goes for 50 at 1.4x multiplier, you're getting 70. That's enough to help you take down a tournament. Paul George is fine. Porzingis is fine. SGA is fine. Draymond, I think, is a guy that offers you more of a ceiling than most. We see he's at 76, and he can just get a triple-double without he really scoring many points. So he can get 5, 6, 7 steals / blocks. He can go off for a massive game any given night. His role is very, very entrenched in this offense. He can get you 15 assists on a single night. He's dishing out stuff all the time, getting boards. So double-double without even getting points is definitely not out of the question. Matchup versus the Clippers isn't easy, but it doesn't really affect him too much because he's probably going to be more involved. Like he's probably going to be guarding Kawhi or PG, doing a great job at it. If Wiseman gets a start, then Draymond's probably going to be on ball defending a significant amount with Paul George and Kawhi. So he has a chance for a few more blocks, a few more steals. He can do a whole lot. So his ceiling's higher on it this given night, considering the defensive matchup. Jason Tatum, he's fine, but 1.15x multiplier probably isn't going to get there. Guys, again, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to sign up for the site using the Grinders code. And boom, getting this free roll. Also, I should mention, SuperDraft, more overlay than any other site in the industry right now. They're just giving away money trying to acquire customers. I love it. And plus, I'm doing all the research for you. You know that when I say that, I play on SuperDraft every night. I have for a year and a half now. It's been my favorite site the entire time. Highly, highly suggest it. But keep looking at centers right now. Dwight Howard, already talked about him, huge ceiling. A guy that I'm definitely interested in tournaments, definitely interested in playing him a lot at both guard and forward is Shake Milton. Running court IQ, we have 170 minutes of a sample size for Shake Milton with both Embiid and Simmons off the court. And he's running at about 1.1, I believe, fantasy point per minute. His minutes could be 27. They could be 35. Like, we don't know if they're going to try and use him a little bit more to run the point, to keep him in there, to like get a little bit more usage, because he's a guy that can eat up a lot of usage. Match for Chicago, obviously great spot for anyone, considering how fast they are. 6th in the league in pace, 17th in defensive efficiency. So Shake Milton could get some extended run this game, especially if it stays close. Could end up with a 40-some-odd point game at a 1.8x multiplier. If he's in there for a lot, he's going to be chucking. So he has a massive ceiling. Absolutely love him for tournaments over on SuperDraft because that multiplier is far too high. Keep rolling down here. Holmes, Bagley, both fine. Both always offer you a decent ceiling. Same thing with Barnes. Like Sacramento, it's always a guessing game who's going to end up with a big outing. But this game should be fairly high scoring. Sacramento's obviously terrible defensively. Houston's been kind of up and down defensively. Who knows what's going to end up happening? But this could be a very high scoring game. And Barnes or Bagley or Holmes or Fox or Halliburton, one of them's likely to go off for a huge game. All their multipliers are around 1.5 to 1.6 outside of Fox. So highly suggest it. Melo, 1.9x multiplier is high. He's definitely gotten it done multiple times. Don't hate him for tournaments, but he's going to eat up a ton of usage when he's on the floor. The problem is he's only on the floor 25, 27 minutes a game. Like, he can get there. Don't mind him for tournaments, but not a guy that I'm going out of my way with. Oubre, always a huge floor ceiling difference. Matchup versus the Clippers, probably not going to make my build too much, but guy that's in play for tournaments. Keep scrolling on down, like not really a ton that I want to go with. Everyone's multipliers are kind of where they should be. So just kind of how it is, where I'm mostly sticking to these guys right here for forward. Let's move on over to guard here. A lot of guys that I like here. The main cash game core is going to be Lowry. We know that Siakam's out. We know Van Vliet's out. We know that Atlanta is one of the worst teams defensively versus the one. We know that Lowry's going to eat up a ton of usage, and he's at a 1.35x multiplier. You see his median projection here, 67. That's 5 points higher than the next closest, who is 3 points higher than the next closest. So the 5th highest median projection guy, Lowry is 10 points above because of that multiplier. It's a clear mispricing. Lowry should end up crushing in this beautiful matchup going up against Atlanta. Lock him in cash. Play a bunch of them in tournaments. He's going to come in at very high ownership, but I'm going to kind of eat it and kind of just bring it back with Trae Young a lot. Like, if this game stays close, there's almost no way that Lowry doesn't end up getting there. So if I'm using Lowry, I'm probably bringing it back with Trae Young. And it's just that simple. Like, Trae Young's at a 1.25x multiplier. Dude's going to chuck. Toronto's not good defensively. We saw Detroit put up 129 points against them without Siakam and Van Vliet. Very different team with all these injuries out. And we know where the usage is going to be. So Trae Young, Lowry, Dame are kind of the 3 guys that I'm going with for cash at the guard position. It's just too high of multipliers. Like, yes, you can play Luka or Harden. Both of them should put up close to 60. They can put up 70 plus, but in cash, I think you take the guys that are not going to be too far behind them in points and have a much higher multiplier. It's just that simple to me. Like, you can play those 3 guys, but I'm not going to argue with Fox. Not going to argue with Luka. Not going to argue with Harden or Oladipo. So, yeah, like cash, it's these 3 guys right here in Lowry, Lillard, and Young. But tournaments, it's a whole different decision because all these guys are going to come in at high ownership. We've seen Dame fail multiple times. We've seen Trae Young fail a few times. Lowry, I think, is the least likely to, but he could end up with a 40-point outing at a 1.35x multiplier. So that would essentially get him to 55. That's probably not going to get it done in tournaments. And there's a chance that Oladipo goes for 45 plus at a 1.4x multiplier. There's a chance Seth Curry goes for a massive outing. There's a chance Powell goes for 50 points. He's consistently put up 40 points in games recently, over 39 in 4 of the last 5 games. has 50-point upside, 1.5x multiplier. Definitely going to be using a ton of him in tournaments. He's probably my favorite tournament play at the guard position today. Wall can put up a massive outing. Oladipo, like both guys in that game, it's against Sacramento. Sacramento's by far the worst defensive team in the league. This game should stay moderate close, and we know where a lot of the usage is going to come from. It's going to come from Oladipo. It's going to come from Wall. They're a little bit inconsistent. So, again, probably wouldn't use them for cash, but we see Wall here with 75-point ceiling. Oladipo here was a 75-point ceiling after you consider their multipliers. Rubio is definitely a guy you can use in tournaments. He's getting a lot of run. It's a good match versus New Orleans. We currently have him projected for an 81-point ceiling. That's his 20th percentile or 80th percentile outcome. So in 80% of games, he'll score lower than that. And 20% of games, he'll score higher than that. Match versus New Orleans, definitely a guy that's in play for tournaments. Not a guy that I'm going out of my way. It's mostly if I'm using Zion and Ingram on the other side, or Zion on the other side. I'm throwing Cat in. Maybe I'll throw Rubio in there because Cat and Rubio don't have a massive negative correlation. And Rubio's multiplier is high enough where both Cat and Rubio can end up getting there. Or even Anthony Edwards here at 1.6x multiplier. The guy absolutely chucks all the time. Sometimes he gets super cold, shoots 3 for 18 from the field. I think his true shooting percentage of guys shooting over 100 shots so far this year is like 48%, and it's one of the lowest in the league. But he's going to be chucking. It's that simple. Like Edwards is going to give you a low floor, high ceiling because he's at 1.6x multiplier. I got a question in chat. Yeah, sorry, this is a super draft show. If you want to hear about DraftKings, go listen to Grinders Live. We have a whole bunch of articles, but this one's strictly for Super Draft to break down Super Draft slate. So there'll be more shows on later, but right now this is what we're going through. Sorry. Kyrie Irving, Booker, both decent multipliers. Like Booker has a matchup versus Portland. We know that he can occasionally just chuck a ton and put up a whole bunch of real life points. So 1.35x multiplier, not quite high enough for me, but still a guy that's in play for tournaments. MCW, gonna play a ton of minutes. May not do anything in those minutes, may do a little bit more, and at 1.8x multiplier kind of plays like in tournaments. He can hit a big ceiling. He can do a lot and randomly shoot a lot at that multiplier. Kemba with Brown and with Tatum in there. Don't know if I'll end up going with him, but it is a matchup going up against Brooklyn. Very high-paced game. Very, very bad defensively in Brooklyn. So I don't mind any of them. It's just none of them really stand out. I'll still have some ownership in him. Shake Milton, already talked about. Absolutely fantastic play. But that's kind of where we're at. It's real simple. Like you get further down here, we see their median projections are all below 50. We don't see many guys with that high of a ceiling. Terrence Davis can end up with a pretty high ceiling at that high multiplier. Buddy Hyde can end up chucking the ball and get hot from behind the arc. We can see him put up 20 real life points in a quarter. Like we've seen it do before. He's so scoring dependent that you're going to have pretty drastically different outcomes. High ceiling, low floor. Like of all these guys, he has probably the lowest floor because if he's not making his shots, he's not contributing a lot of other areas. Keep rolling down, just not really a ton. Like it's that simple. Like we don't have a ton of guys after these 15, 20 guys that are going to give you that possibility of 80 or even likely 60, because that's how the multipliers work over on Super Draft. You can't go higher than 2. So if a guy doesn't have a real life shot at 30 points, he's immediately not viable for tournaments. So just kind of how it ends up working. Like I don't mind the New York guys. Rose is still out. So if you want to use Elf Payton, he could get some extended run, high enough multiplier. Like we don't have him as a high ceiling, but there's a shot that he ends up with a big game or quickly. Like if they decide to actually give him run, he could hit it, but it's not really worth the potential downsize of it. The potential 15-minute outing for quickly where he's going to eat up a lot of usage while he's there. But if he's not shooting well and he only gets 15 minutes, he's basically killing that lineup. Like any lineup that you have a guy with 25 or 30 points, it's immediately dead in tournaments. You can still get there in cash, but it's dead in tournaments. You have no chance of getting near the top and likely very little shot in actually hitting a cashing lineup. So pretty much how it is. That's basically it. That's the slate, guys. If you have any questions, we'll get to it. But we're probably going to get out of here in a minute or two. Again, guys, don't forget there's a free roll tonight. Top 10 people get RG Premium for 3 months. Free money. That's what a free roll is. Get in there using the Grinders promo code and get everything for free. But great deposit bonus. $150 if you deposit $150. Up to $50 match if you use the promo code Grinders. But doesn't look like we have any questions. That's basically the slate. Good luck tonight. Happy to be back from the All-Star break. It was a wonderful little respite for a little bit. Did not play hockey. I play a little bit of MMA. Don't know what I was doing, but there was overlay. But yeah, guys, thanks for joining. We'll be back again tomorrow with some more Super Draft stuff. I'm out of here. See you, kids.